and welcome to this week's episode of the Live Conversations. This program is brought to you by the Contact Center Association of Zimbabwe, which is the leading voice in advocating for great customer experience, service excellence, as well as service delivery. I'm your host, Carol Konje. And as usual, we bring in different customer experience experts into the studio to discuss more of these issues. And today I'm excited because I'm joined by a seasoned customer experience expert who has been in the customer service industry for over a decade. And he's also a businessman and entrepreneur. He's also the executive secretary for Contact Center Association of Zimbabwe. So that means he happens to be my boss. I'm sure it's difficult interviewing your own boss, but I will try today. So, Dr. Mautsa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Carol. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. How is business? How is entrepreneurship? How is everything?
No, everything's good. We are trying. We are trying.
All right. Okay. Let's just get into the program. You've been in the customer experience industry for over a decade. Tell us more about your CX background.
Okay. Thank you so much, Carol. I think I always say to people, I think I became in this, or I get into this field by accident, maybe, but everything happens for a reason. Because if I'm to track back, everything that happened when I was young was actually pointing me to this direction. I remember when I was at college, I did, my first degree was marketing. And for my dissertation, for my first degree, obviously I chose the customer service / CX topic as a dissertation topic. But for me, I thought it was easier to research in that field. So because of that, I then became curious. Okay, this is when I was researching. Now I became curious about CX issues. So that after my first degree, I went to do a postgrad, and I was very young, in my early 20s, postgrad in CX as well. After that, it happens when I did also my MBA when I was now around 26. I did my MBA. My dissertation also was I was researching on CX also for my MBA. Then it was so easy for me to gel in and to promote CX issues. And I happened also to have worked in the corporate because of my qualifications. I worked at local telecoms, Telecel. I worked at Tier 1 middle management, and in those respective organizations, I was in the CX departments as a manager as well. And I worked in the petroleum sector, also heading the CX and promoting the CX issues. So yeah, I've done and I've seen a lot. Yeah.
All right. So we always talk about customer experience. How is it of importance to business and society?
Okay, in the SIS, we used to say customer experience is the future, but I don't think it's still the future anymore. It is here, and this is a bedrock for any business. It's a pity that many companies and many organizations that I've seen, they talk about CX issues, they put on their agenda, on the strategy sessions, but it's just lip service. They don't really want to see changes happening. Why I'm saying that? It's a good to have, it's a good to mention in the strategy on the company reports, annual reports. They mention about CX. But if you have to drill down and check the parameters, the ecosystem that is being created within the different corporates, you'd realize that, no, we are not serious about CX issues. Because CX is a culture. Because it's not about some jargons or a department. It's a culture that you create within the entire organization. Yeah.
All right. You pioneered the contact center industry. I'm sure that also gives birth to the Contact Center Association of Zimbabwe. What moved you? What was your drive?
Okay, so when I was doing my postgrad, and I remember I was so young, I then stumbled in some guys in South Africa who were doing business process outsourcing, targeting the European markets, the Americas. And I didn't know about call centers. In Zimbabwe, yes, we had the likes of maybe one or two companies that had PABX as contact centers, maybe just picking calls and answering, but they were not proper contact centers. They were just call centers. So when I was in South Africa, I then, at a very young age, I saw a gap and I came back to Zimbabwe. We opened our own outsourcing company that was answering South African calls. And I also realized that, you know what, for outsourcing to work, for contact center industry to grow, you need an association to drive the agenda. So that's when we set up also Contact Center Association of Zimbabwe. Of course, I was the brainchild. I remember I did the whole proposal. I was not using Google. I was just writing the proposal that I did. I went to register. Then I engaged some colleagues, and one of the people who promoted is late now, Mr. Owen Ferry. He's the one person who really supported us for this to be set. And the other players also in the industry, they came into the forum to say, you know what, this is a brilliant initiative. But some people were doubting, say, does it work in Zimbabwe? What are you talking about? Many people, they didn't know about it. So we would approach corporates, they said, no, I think this doesn't work. So I was very young. So there are a number of people, Cecilia, Victoria Rujizo, they really came to support. But for some, they say, I know a young man like you, what are you talking about? But for some, they said, you know what, Rinos, we are going to support your vision to see it to fruition. Yeah.
All right. You have experience for over a decade now. I'm sure you've seen a lot. What's your take on the general customer service in Zimbabwe? I think it has been the talk, especially on social media, on Twitter. People have been complaining. But what's your take?
So if you are to check out maybe service delivery issues and the customer experience, yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to be done as a country. But if you have to, I'll give you an example. There's an example that I like because it's all about a culture. So a culture starting at individual level, at company level, then a culture nationally. I'll just take you to Japan. The Japanese are known for good service. I mean, it's for good customer service. And if service quality actually issues, they drive the service quality agenda so well. And the World Cup, I once used that example also before. The World Cup that happened in 2018, the Japanese fans, after the World Cup, they were thrashed, actually, the team that was playing. And the fans, after the match, they started picking up litter in the stadium where they were seated, at the base where they were seated. Why did they pick the litter? Because it's a culture in them. They can't leave things in shambles. So they are not the ones who had thrown the litter down, but they to pick it up.
Despite being thrashed.
Yeah, exactly, despite their team being thrashed.
Yeah.
So for them, it's not about, who throw the litter down, but they're saying it's a culture that is embedded in them. So they are believing to say, you know what, we can't leave this place in a worse off position than what we find it in. So that's customer service. That's service excellence now. So if it is a culture, it means if you see someone who is treating a tourist bad, you actually engage, say, no, this is wrong. You stand up for what is right. You get the point. But if you are to check, it's a whole ecosystem that needs to be revisited. It's a culture issue. So it has to start from the leadership, even from the office of the president, where they're driving the agenda. Because successful companies, they are not successful because of good products only. But they are if you serve your customers better. Because remember, a product in America, a product in Europe is the same product that is being bought in Zimbabwe. But what will differentiate, well, the product is just the same. But what will differentiate the companies of the future is how you are serving your clients and your customers. So we have to understand and appreciate that as a nation. Then when we do that, it cascades to respective sectors now, where regulatory authorities, they also step in. But sometimes when culture is not changing, cohesion, it will work also. We have to coerce people to fall into a line. Because it has to be treasonous for people to serve customers, in a way that we have seen happening. For customers, for people in the customer-facing industry like tourism, immigration, all the likes of, Zimra, the customer-facing staff, receiving our tourists and visitors as well. Was how they were going to be received it will have also an implication on how the visitors will view Zimbabweans as a country. Yeah.
All right, this is the Live Conversations brought to you by the Contact Center Association of Zimbabwe. And today I'm joined by Dr. Rinos Mautsa. He is the Executive Secretary for Contact Center Association of Zimbabwe. He's also an entrepreneur and businessman. Dr. Mautsa, do you think the consumer protection law is being implemented thoroughly? And if not, what do you think is the problem and what is the solution to this?
I'm so happy, Carol, that when it all started, we were part of it. I was part of it personally when it all started. We were being updated. We were also contributing some insights and stuff. But, to be frank, I know that the government played a role, and the minister and the ministry, they appointed the commission, which is a good leg. I mean, forward. But at the same time, if you have to check on the ground, ask an ordinary person what they know about the Consumer Protection Commission or the law that is there. They are clueless. They don't know anything. Why? So it boils down now on information dissemination. Because you can't craft a law and then come up with a commission to run with it. Then you don't allocate. Obviously, I know maybe they are being stifled, but they don't have resources. Maybe that I'm just assuming. I don't know, but I do believe before they were appointed, we were supposed to allocate a budget for them to move around, to do consumer awareness, to some campaigns, to engage various stakeholders like CCAZ, CACM, and other stakeholders, so that the message will go down to the grassroots. Because people, they don't know. A lot is the rights of consumers are being infringed every day by corporates. But people, they don't know where to report. They don't know what to do. Sometimes a lot is happening. If you are to see what is happening, in the day-to-day, the service delivery is so deplorable if you have to check right now. And people are facing a lot, but they can't do anything because they don't know the steps to take. And I don't know if they've done any arbitration so far. I don't know. I don't think so. So it also shows that maybe now we have the commission, but they're incapacitated. They are toothless for now. They are armed with the law, but they're not really there, implementing, educating the consumers. But it helps. I think it's a good step in the right direction. It will help us in the country, as a country, for us to ensure that we will serve our customers better. But more still has to be done. We need to see them coming at the forefront, driving the agenda and educating the consumers. Yeah.
So what do you think is lacking in our country, maybe for organizations to have top customer experience standards? What is the problem?
So we have a lot of pain areas as a country. And remember, whatever a respective organization is facing is also coming from, it's a reflection of what we are going through as a country. We are going through a phase. I know it will be over at some point. But it's a culture issue. Because we have a culture of accepting mediocrity, where we don't, and we celebrate even mediocrity also. We accept and we celebrate it. So at the end of the day, when we see things going wrong, we don't complain. We don't, it's a culture issue as Zimbabweans. We don't complain. We don't seek recourse. Why? Because we've just accepted things that are not supposed to be accepted, But how can we get out of this? As a company, remember, it's possible for a company to thrive, to become an oasis in the desert. As a company, it's very possible. Yes, I've highlighted the context, that are shaping the whole narrative. But at the same time, it's so possible, I do believe it, it's so possible for a company to rise and thrive as an oasis in this economy and premise, on this legendary customer experience. How can that be done? I've seen many companies, when they're going for strategies, if you have seen it, sometimes they come up with a strategy of what they want without not what the customers want.
Yeah.
But I always say everything starts with the customers. So understanding your customers is the premise, is the bedrock. You have to understand the customers. The moment you understand your customers, The second leg is to understand your organization. Your team member, they need to appreciate what you stand for, your vision. You have the internal stakeholders who are shaping that company. Then when you understand your organization now, that's when you go to the strategy. So then you start promoting now a culture of service excellence where everyone from the top to the bottom is involved. But we've seen, yes, the management, they will pronounce maybe a direction, a vision, set a vision. But at the same time, the vision, yes, is set, but there's no buy-in from the bottom, the team at the bottom. Why? Because they don't even know, so there's no understanding of the organization. Then we promote a culture. The example I gave you about the Japanese fans, it's a culture. Yeah. They were in Russia at the World Cup, but they still went on to pick later where they were seated. But it's now a culture. So if it is now a culture, if I'm within the company, I appreciate what is at stake to say, if you don't do this, actually you find you can't do otherwise because it's now within you, because it's a culture. So we need to have a culture of service excellence, and for us to celebrate true excellence. That's what is lacking within companies. And there's need to see in the boardrooms people who are driving the customer experience agenda. When products are being developed, let's have products that also address the consumer needs or the customer needs. Because we've heard many times, how many times have you gone to the bank? They keep on asking for information, your customer information.
That they
already have. So yes, and if you have to tell, they know what I'm talking about. And they'll say, I know, we know it's about compliance. But there's now technology. Why can't you use tech intervention for us to have information? And I don't know. But that way now, because that's what the consumers want. If you want, everyone is just tired of that. But they keep on because of regulatory requirements, the internal requirements. But something has to be done. So I'm just giving one example, but there are many examples across all sectors. So a lot still needs to be done. And I think it's possible for us to have companies that are really customer-centric and customer-focused. Yeah.
All right. Tell us more about the customer satisfaction index that was done. What is it exactly, and what were the outcomes? Which organizations are lagging behind? Which ones are doing well? Maybe the sectors, to say, yeah.
Okay, I don't have all the figures and the statistics, but I mean, from what I still remember, there's a National Customer Satisfaction Index that is done by the Chartered Institute of Customer Management, and it's done across Africa, in different countries in Africa, and in Zimbabwe we have it. It's a benchmarking data that is there available for anyone. Okay. And remember, many companies, they do customer satisfaction surveys in-house, but they don't have benchmarking data that is independent. So this is the benchmarking data that are multi-sectorial. So each sector in Zimbabwe is covered. And that benchmarking data now, what it does, it helps for companies to compare their internal ratings versus the benchmarking data. And also it's very independent, and it's done across all sectors. And it's endorsed by regulatory authorities, by different stakeholders as well, which makes it very, reliable and authentic. So the worst performing sector, the rating for Zimbabwe as a nation, it was way less. I think it was around 56% for 2021. If you have to compare with other countries, we are down. So it's a reflection of what is happening also maybe in the economy. And maybe the people end up maybe focus on bread and butter issues. They don't care about, saving better and stuff. But under 60%, which is bad. And if you have to check the worst performing sector, it was the state-owned entities. Their ratings, it was around under 50%. It was around 47 or 48, which is very low, very, very low. And the key parameter and the things that drive them to be having such ratings, they are also there. Then you go to the ratings for the top performing sector. It was the courier services. It was the top performing sector. Why? Obviously, last year we were in COVID, they play a pivotal role. So maybe consumers, they were so happy. So we've seen Dell and delivery, and the other Korea related, services, on the rise. So I think their service, it was rated highly countrywide. And I think Nyaradzo and DHL, they had the highest ratings in terms of that index rating countrywide, if you are to combine all the sectors. And banking sector, it used to do well, but they lost, many points. Obviously it's a reflection of what is happening in the country as well. But the insights, if you are to read, they are so insightful and so informative. If different companies want to also know what is happening in terms of the feedback coming from the consumers in the country.
All right. So overall, what would you say then is the challenge, maybe to get these 40%, this 50%? Can we just maybe blame it on the economy?
No. So remember, it's a culture. It's top team commitment. If you have to have one CEO who say, what, we are going to be known for service excellence, and this is the vision, this is what we are going to do. If you do 1, 2, 3, is treasonous within this company. We'll fire you right away. You get the point? Then we have people who are championing customer experience. You appoint them to be customer experience change agents within the company to drive the culture transformation program within the company. If you are to do that, believe me, we'll see results. Just check the leading corporates, the likes of Amazon, Apple, and all these leading corporates. Everything is centered around the customer. So about the experience, So if you have to do that, it's so possible to have a local telecom company competing, leveraging on legendary customer experience, in Africa, to have Zimbabwean banks expanding into the region across Africa, setting branches, but being known for legendary customer experience. And let's utilize on technologies. Because I've seen people setting up technology like contact center technologies, CRM technologies, but they don't know how to use them. So I've seen people buying technologies for like 300,000 or more. But maybe what they are utilizing in terms of the functionalities is worth maybe 90,000. They are not seeking consultation from experts to say, what is it that we need at this point? So it's not about buying technologies. Many companies, they're buying technologies, but they don't know how to better use the technologies. So we have to leverage on technologies. We have to build that culture being driven from the top, where the CEO will pronounce it and they walk the talk. They are fully involved. I know they are so busy, but the moment they show that this is the direction we want as a company, believe me, that company will thrive.
All right, Dr. Mautsa, as we come to the end of our program, your last words.
No, my last words, Carol, customer experience is not a cost. I've seen companies cutting down costs, and the department that suffers is customer experience department. It's not a cost. So invest in customer experience. So you have to invest in the relevant technology. It's not about buying very expensive technology, but buy relevant technology that address the needs and requirements of your customers. Invest in your people, train your people. The internal customers, train your people. There are many, it's not about training also, but relevant trainings, and also drive the culture, drive and see customer experience as a culture within your companies. If you do so, Zimbabwe will thrive, your companies will thrive, and everyone will do, and we have what we call customer success, where all stakeholders are happy.
All right. That was a very insightful discussion. Thank you so much for coming to our show today.
Thank you so much, Carol, for having me.
All right. That was Dr. Mautsa. He is the Executive Secretary for Contact Center Association of Zimbabwe, and he's also an entrepreneur. And today we're just having a customer experience talk. And we've learned more from what he has been saying, what he's been discussing with us. Thank you so much for watching this program. Please like, share, and comment. And if you miss any of our programs, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is CCAZ, and watch more of our programs. That was today's show, and see you next week for a more insightful topic. I'm your host, Kara Konje. Goodbye.